Environmental suggestion number 2, Joe. Joe, here's another environmentally significant idea that you can do away with because it doesn't cost trillions of dollars, but it will have a very positive effect on our atmosphere, especially if you can get some other governments to do it. But without them doing it, we can do something substantial. In ancient, before the United States put the railroads across the country and they chopped down all the forests, our forest, you look at the Canadian National Forest, and it goes to about where the Great Lakes are. And then it chops off right at our territorial line. Do you suppose nature knew that line was going to be there and just quit growing? No. That forest used to go almost all the way down to the panhandle of Texas. They're still finding huge pieces of petrified logs, fossil logs, down in that part of the country. It then kind of swept over to where San Diego is now. But that's where that huge forest was at one time. But all of that got chopped down so we could make railroad ties. While I'm not talking about tearing out the railroad or doing anything adverse, the U.S. government has a lot of publicly owned land in that area. And if you started planting something quick growing like acacia trees, and then also diversified the forest with some Doug fir and cedar and pine and other things, you would have a lush forest surface that would retain water, cool it down, that would retain ground surface, that would add vitamins, minerals, nutrients, especially if you spread some clover out there. All of these areas receive rain, and it used to be enough to maintain an entire forest. So this isn't like a new idea. Reforestation cools off stuff. Back in the 60s, there was a professor who suggested that for Africa. Well, a lot of those nations didn't take his word for it, but some of them did, and they started growing acacia trees and other types of quick-growing plants, and then the villagers were using those to build their huts and to bring in firewood and a lot of things. So much so,
there's a speed trap ahead,
that some of the fruit crops started coming back, and now they're planting orchards there. So while I understand that there might be some resistance against this, because there are people who say that, the weather is just in a cycle, and well, it might be, but we've speeded that cycle one hell of a lot. So by covering the lands that are available with trees that can start to build a forest, that can start to cool off the environment, we could probably cut down our tornadoes in the middle of the country by a huge amount. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go study thermal gunnels. Okay. One of the reasons why Texas had the problem with the winter that it had was that very large thermal gunnels took place and brought the upper colder atmosphere down to Texas. That is another side effect of heat exchange, like a heat exchanger. So you can study all of that if you want, but I already have. And if anybody on your staff wants to talk to me, I can be reached at 603-379-6555. So, hey Joe, let's not spend more dough and let's get something done. Oh, sorry, I forgot about that part. How do you get that thing planted? We have more people in prisons in this country than the population of other countries. We have a huge population, and I'm not talking about murderers and other violent crimes, but we have people who are in prison because they smoked pot. We have people in prison because they did a little something that was non-violent. So we can allow those people, volunteers from those programs, to come out and replant all these lands. We are already paying to support these people. We are already providing food, shelter, clothing. Let's see if any of them want to get out in nature. And, there'll be guards around. Nobody's going to run off. And if they do, what are they going to do? Write a bad check? Okay, so we have the resources to do this. There are university programs that give away free trees on Arbor Day. Have them grow some more. This is not a difficult thing to do. So Joe, we don't have to spend all that dough to get some really good stuff done. And by the way, because you run that department, you don't even have to get congressional approval. There are 12 chairs in for your people to work in. You are a president of the United States. You are presiding for us other Americans. So please, Joe, just use the tools you have. Do you know how much bang you'll get out of that? Okay, little or no money and a whole program. And who knows, maybe these people who are a little bit criminal will become a little bit patriotic when they get done planting all these forests. Thank you for your time.